Okay, so the doors are all done. We've now got the servo on the doors, so the doors are opening and closing with the servo. That's all good. Just drop the nose leg in, put the 4 bolts in, they're Loctited. They needed just relieving on the side of the screws just to go into the cups again. And just notice this bolt here is very, very close to the wood. Doesn't quite hit, but it's not really got any clearance, so I'm just going to take a little bit of wood away there just to give it a bit of clearance. Been around the undercarriage, just nipped up all the screws, re-Loctited the grub screws, put a bit of oil on the actual nose leg, but that's all pretty good. Servo is in for the nose leg, so yeah, we'll just relieve this and we'll get it working with the receiver. Okay, so we are about there. All of the doors are done. Spent a little bit of time playing around with the sequencer on the IX20, and on the IX20 you can set up the sequence for the doors and the wheels. You can put timers on there and you can change the rates. So we've got it set up now on a switch on here. So flip the switch. Nose wheel steering, and as soon as you flick the switch, the nose wheel steering centers and stops working as well. So that is pretty neat. So if you've not played around with sequencing before, basically you set up a switch to activate it, and then you set the number of seconds that you want the program to run across, and then for each condition you have the doors and the wheels. So this is basically a timeline, and you've got a timeline for wheels down and a timeline for wheels up. So here you can see the doors are opening. I've got them opening slowly, and then they stay open, and then just after the doors are finished fully opening, the command to drop the wheels is sent, and then that's the time. It's around about 15 seconds to lower the wheels fully. And then you can see here the door then closes again, so you don't have to, you can leave the doors open if you want, but it's kind of a nice touch to open the doors, put the wheel down, close the doors again. And then the reverse, so doors open again, and then the trigger for closing the undercarriage or retracting the undercarriage, and then finally after the undercarriage is retracted somewhere as it goes back this way, then you get the doors close. So you can see that now if I scroll down here. So where are we? We are wheels up. So click the switch. So that's wheels down, that's doors open, wheels down. The wheels down and the door closed. So probably better if I show you like this. And then if I flick the switch again, we're on the reverse screen. You can see the arrows going across the screen. Wheels home, it just waits a moment longer and then shuts the doors. Great stuff. Okay, so we're back the right way up and things are starting to look like an airplane. Front end is all done. Got most of the wires routed through, they'll all get tidied up shortly. Nose lights are in, top lights are in, bottom light, wingtip lights are all in. Just had a bit of a dry fit of the turbine and the thrust tube. So the thrust tube has been pushed in. It's supposed to stick out the back 6mm, so good there. And the thrust tube has got a right and a wrong way up, so you should be able to see the bolts on the top. That's the right way up, otherwise it's offset. And the turbine, King Tech 180 G5, that's sat there, something like the right position. We'll move that around a little bit in a minute. And that is looking good. So starting to come together. So thrust pipe is screwed in. Just a little bit of clearance each side on the bell mouth. Sticking out 6mm on the back. You can put the thrust tube in when the fuselage is all together. It will go in. It will go in through here, and it will pass all the way through before you've got the fuel tank in. So you don't need to have the two fuselage halves separated to be able to get the thrust tube in and out. So that's good. And then onto the fuel tank. So I'm using the standard fuel tank that comes with a kit. Our friends are building one up are using the bag tanks from FCT Flight Composite Tech, but I'm going to use the standard supplied tank, but I am switching out the clunk for an FCT clunk. So these have got rubber O-rings on the side so they don't wear out the tank. They're a nice weight, and they're also got a tapered nose so they suck right down to the very last drop, whereas this one is a little bit not so nice. It does the job, but yeah, the FCT stuff is just really nice. So that's what we're using. So just assembling the stopper. These, it's good to run a blade around the inside edge, just to take the burrs off. So just run a blade around the inside, take the burrs off there, blow it out, and just make sure it's absolutely clean. Don't want any little metal bits going through into the turbine. So this is the clunk assembly, which is almost finished. There's just one more lock wire joint to put on there, which I'm just going to put on after I've got the length right. So I've got the FCT clunk on there. Then there's the brass tube, which is inserted in the middle. That's important because it stops the whole clunk assembly folding back on itself. So yeah, don't be tempted to skip that point. Otherwise the clunk weight will end up in the front of the tank, and then when you climb out you'll end up with no fuel. So what I've done on the brass tube is just flared the end slightly, so you can just roll around the end of a small pair of pointed pliers. Just roll it around and you can flare the end out slightly, and then just take the sharp edge off with the stone so it doesn't cut through the pipe. It gives you a nice flared edge to stop it slipping off, because this tube does swallow a little bit in fuel, or it goes soft at least. So yep, flared the end of that and then lock wired it. So 2 wraps of lock wire, and then the same on the end so it can't slip off, right up against the flare so it can't slide backwards and grow in length. And then I've just got to sort this end out here as well. I will flare these ends as well when I get the lengths right. So on with the fit out. So we've got the batteries in here. I think we're going to run 4 batteries, so we'll run the 3S for the turbine because the G5 takes the 3S lipos, which is nice. We'll run 2 5000 2Ss for the receiver for all the servos, and then we're thinking of running an extra 2S pack just to power the retracts and the lights. Spectrum Synapse is in, so that should be good. The actual Synapse unit is elevated on a mount so that we can run all the receiver's wires underneath and straight into the receiver. GSU is in there for the King-Tech turbine, retract controller, and then we've got one of the excellent RC Light Systems effect controllers that's going to be used for the lights. So we've gone for the Unilight LEDs, but the controller, we prefer to use the RC Light Systems controller, which is completely programmable. So we'll get that set up in a bit. So there's 4 channels, so we'll run 1 channel for the headlight on the front, for the nose light. We'll run another channel for the green and red tip lights, another one for the strobe of the wingtips, and then the last channel will be combined to power both of the strobes for the upper and lower. The wiring's just a bit of a rat's nest at the minute as they're all coming through, but they'll all be coming through nice and neat. Got some braiding on all the cables where they're going to rub. We'll get all that in place, and then we can start to get the fuel system installed. So the thrust pipe is in, turbine's waiting to go in. We'll just get the wiring finished in the back end here and then we can get that on. So a bit more done. A lot of the wiring is complete now. So I've got central wiring harness coming straight down the centre. Everything's all in braid, clip down, and neatly comes out into the Synapse power safe. Then just got one battery just powering it up at the moment. This will be the turbine battery here, and then we'll have a couple of batteries down there. I'm going to run a separate 2S for the lights and for the retracts. So we've got the Synapse mounted there with all the cables coming underneath it. Fuel tank is just loosely placed in there at the moment. It is worth just doing a pressure test on the tank, so I just looped a pipe between the 2 pipes there and just submerged the tank underwater, just checked that there was no leaks. There was a tiny little pinhole just in the seam there, which I've put a bit of resin on there. That's fixed that, but it is definitely worth checking your fuel tank. And then there'll be a smoke tank on the top here. So turbine is in, smoke wand is in, it's just curled up here at the minute waiting to put the smoke pump in. That's all looking good. So retracts are all set up. So we've just been playing around with the lights. So we're running one of the excellent RC Light Systems effect controllers. So we've used the Unilight LEDs in the wingtips with the strobes. We've got the Unilight beacons top and bottom, and then we've got the Unilight headlight in there. So I adapted the bezel, used the outer of the bezel from the kit and glued that to it, so that fits nice. And then I've got it wired up to the RC Light Systems effect controller. So this is quite nice because you can power it up from a XT30, which I'm not doing at the moment, but I will be. At the moment it's running off the receiver power, but I will switch it over to a separate XT30 and off a separate battery. So I've got the 4 outputs. So I've got one for the headlight, one for each wing, and then the other one is split into both top and bottom beacons or strobes. So nice thing about this is you can set up the effects very easily. You can plug it into a laptop and you can set the effects up, but you can also program it directly from your Spectrum transmitter. It's also compatible with Jetty and others, but on the Spectrum is the one I'm familiar with. So we've got our iX20, and you can see what you've got is a extra menu. So it plugs into the SRXL2 port, and here where you scroll along to your normal dashboard, monitor, if you scroll all the way across, you've now got effects controller. And here it shows that I've got it set up as a beacon, strobe, and then 2 switched items here. And you can program this from the transmitter. So all you need to do is cycle the power quickly on the controller. Give me a moment. So cycle the power on there. Back to here, throttle low, aileron left, elevator down, center stick, and it goes into the programming menu. So now you can see effect 1. I've got effect 1 set as a beacon. I've got it assigned to channel 20 and a point where it turns on at. If I move the stick down, you can see the little marker, ramp time, ramp level, wait time, and then you can save the configuration for that effect. So if I move back up to effect, oops, pressed it too many times, effect 2 is a strobe, so that'll be on the wingtips, and I've got that coming on point of 20, and then effect 3 I've got also coming on point of 20, and then effect 4 I've got coming on point of 50, and that's a switched item. So once I'm happy with all of that, I can move across down to save and exit, or just exit in this case. Okay, so that's all configured as I wanted it to be. So what that gives me now is on this switch, if I flick that down, strobes. I've now got a really nice beacon effect, which simulates a rotating beacon. And we've got the same on the bottom there as well. And then with the next position of the switch,
headlight,
we've got the headlight on.
Strobes. Lights off. Strobes. Headlight. Strobes.
So that is the effect controller from RC Light Systems. The website is rclightsystems.com, and we've just got the rest of the retracts to wire up and then fit out the fuel system.